Hi everyone! Thank you for joining us for the upcoming Fall Collision Monitoring with Lights Out Columbus. I am Devin Mingus-Bruni for those that don't know me, and I am the Ohio Lights Out Coordinator. Whether you are new or returning, Lights Out Columbus and this collision monitoring program really would not be possible without our dedicated volunteers, and I just wanted to thank you all for being a part of it. Okay, so before we get started on the survey protocols, I wanted to go over some background information first. In addition to our incredible volunteers, Lights Out is made possible by a number of organizations, including Ohio Bird Conservation Initiative, Ohio Wildlife Center, and Grange Insurance Audubon Center. OVCI is a network of organizations that works on projects such as Lights Out that contribute to the conservation of birds in Ohio. Ohio Wildlife Center is our wildlife rehabber, and this is where we will be taking all of our dead and injured birds, and they have been instrumental in getting this program started. Grange Insurance Audubon Center has also been a very vital partner in helping to recruit and onboard new volunteers, as well as providing us with a lot of different resources. So even though the weather has been very warm and it may not feel like fall yet, birds are already prepping for and beginning their migratory journeys from their breeding grounds in boreal Canada back to their wintering grounds in Central and South America. These migrants have really impressive journeys where they fly hundreds to thousands of miles every year, and some in a very short time span. This abundance map that you see over here demonstrates the movement of the Tennessee warbler throughout the year. You can see it moving all the way up from boreal Canada and the forests up there all the way down to Central and South America, and then back again for the spring. And so some of these birds over here that you see are the birds that you may see on the routes in the morning. So these guys are all sporting their fall plumage, which is really just a lot of dull yellow, greens, browns, and it can make them a little tricky to ID compared to their really vibrant plumage in the springtime that we see. So one of the coolest things about migration is that these large events can actually be picked up by radar. This image here on the left demonstrates what birds look like on radar, and some people will describe these bursts of movements as donuts. It's not just birds that can be picked up, but also bats and large movements of insects as well. If you haven't had a chance to check out Birdcast, it's a really cool website that provides these migration forecast maps, as pictured over here on the right, that are able to roughly predict about how many birds are projected to migrate through on any given night during migration. I find myself checking Birdcast during migration season to see if the next morning may be a good one for birding. So if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and check that one out. Unfortunately, it is estimated that nearly 1 billion birds are killed in the US alone each year due to building collisions. A very recent study published just last week looking at the survival rate of rehabbed window collision birds puts this estimate much higher than previously predicted. We don't typically see our resident birds like robins and rock pigeons colliding with buildings, although we will occasionally pick some up on our routes. The majority of these birds are those long-distance migrants, as pictured here, that many people may not get much opportunity to see in everyday life. Bird migration has evolved over thousands of years, and birds use a variety of cues for navigation. Most songbirds, including our neotropical migrants, migrate at night and use cues such as the moon and the stars to navigate. Artificial light, which is becoming increasingly abundant in urban areas, can disrupt these cues, and it causes confusion and disorientation, which may then lead to exhaustion and collisions with buildings. So one way we can combat this is by using smarter lighting. We can reduce the effects of light pollution by turning off any unnecessary lights and reducing light in other ways, such as using shielded lighting and motion sense lights. Oftentimes people will equate lighting with safety in downtown areas, but by using smart lighting choices, not completely eliminating it, we can reduce the amount of light pollution for migrants to safely move at night. One of the other major threats to migratory birds in urban areas is this combination of green space and glass. Birds cannot perceive glass like humans do, but instead they see an extension of their own environment. As you can see in the photo on the left, the windows do a great job of reflecting the images of trees, giving birds the impression that the green space continues through the other side of those windows. The image in the middle may look familiar to those volunteers that have walked the nationwide route before, and it shows the dangers that plants and vegetation on the inside of windows also poses to birds. So any buildings, walkways, railings, and bus stations that use that reflective or clear glass, especially in areas adjacent to green space, pose a threat to migratory birds. We can, however, design buildings to reduce or eliminate these window collisions. The left two photos are examples of a product called Feather Friendly, which is a series of dots applied to the outer surface of glass that breaks up that reflection, giving birds more opportunity to perceive the surface as solid. And the right is an example of how architecture can be designed from the beginning to reduce bird building collisions. So for those of you that know Matt Schumar, the OBCI project coordinator, these are the windows at his house. You can see here that he has applied Feather Friendly to his windows. I also have applied this to the windows at my house after I had a rose-breasted grosbeak strike my window. Luckily, that bird was rehabbed at Ohio Wildlife Center and it was later released. Just a little background information on Lights Out Columbus. It was established in 2012 and it really started with some small-scale surveys done by some OSU students. And it didn't become a full-scale collision monitoring program until 2019, which looks very similar to what it does today. So this slide here is really just giving an example of the numbers that we see during a typical season. So this is from all of 2023, the spring and the fall, and you can see it split up between Broad Street and Nationwide. We typically do see a few more birds in the fall as compared to the spring, but they are fairly similar. Okay, so now that we have some background on Lights Out Columbus, let's get started into our fall 2024 survey protocols. These do look pretty similar to spring of 2024, but we do have a couple of updates this season. So I will just go over some general notes about our protocols here. We have standardized start times split up into two separate shifts. First shift starts at 6 a.m. and goes until about 7:30, and second shift begins at 7:30 and ends around 9. And it all really just depends on how long it takes to walk the route each morning. Our volunteers always walk in pairs for safety reasons downtown, but it's also good to have a partner, especially when you come across a live bird. We want our surveys to be as standardized as possible, so try to stay on the designated route as much as you can. Sometimes you'll find birds that are slightly off of the route, and that's okay to go get those. One thing to note is that we will find bats in the morning, but it's important to note that if you are not rabies vaccinated and approved to handle them, please don't touch them, whether they are dead or alive. So Discord is the app that we will use for all of our communication, and this is where you'll post all the information that you collect in the morning as well. Surveys run every single morning unless there is severe weather, and I will be checking the forecast each night before the shift and communicate with the assigned volunteers for any cancellations. If you ever feel uncomfortable going out that morning, you can cancel as well, so just let us know. And then I want to emphasize here that data completeness is crucial, so please remember to fill out all of the information on those bird collection bags. So the schedule will be posted on Discord server, and it's on Google Drive. It'll be located in the resources channel. We will also use the volunteer support desk channel for any scheduling conflicts. So if you have any cancellations for any reason or you're going out of town, just let us know those dates and I'll update the schedule on there. So again, assume the surveys are on every single day. If there's any kind of inclement weather, I will let you know if there's any cancellations. And then every single night I will be posting a thread for the next morning. It is in the bird labels, and that is where you will put all that information that you collect. So this slide is just an example of what the schedule looks like. It's posted in Discord in the resources channel. Those highlighted names that you see are the designated transport people for the shifts in the morning. And it's split up into broad and nationwide first and second shifts. This is what our Discord server looks like. You can see all the channels are located on the left-hand side, including announcements, discussions, bird labels. If you haven't used Discord before, take some time to explore the server a little bit and get to know it. If you have any questions about using it, please don't hesitate to ask. I know it can take a little bit of time to learn it. So these are our survey routes, Nationwide and Broad Street route. They're approximately about the same amount of distance, but this is just kind of an aerial overview of what those routes look like. Parking downtown can be a little bit tricky, but luckily for us, we have parking available. So as always, there is free street parking until 8 a.m., but for Broad Street, we used to park in the CCAD lot where that smaller star is on this slide. That was on the corner of Cleveland and Gay Street. But this year they're actually asking us to park in the larger lot that's located on the corner of Cleveland Avenue and Broad Street, where that large star is on the screen. So just try to park over there for Broad. This is just an overview of what that Broad Street route looks like, with some of the more notable buildings that you should pay close attention to. New this year, we have nationwide route parking. So as always, there's free street parking up until 8 a.m., but you can also park at the FedEx Office Print and Ship Center that's located on the corner of North High Street and Spring Street. They are asking us to park on the east side of the lot near North Pearl Street, just along that back wall that's indicated by the star on this slide. That's just to avoid trucks dropping off deliveries in the morning near that building. Here's an overview of what that nationwide route looks like with some of the buildings that are notable and to pay close attention to as well, just like the Broad Street route. So for data collection and submission, again, this is where we want a complete tag. So we want the address of the building that is found as well as the building name, the other things like time of collection, bird species, site of the building, and percentage of glass on that building, as well as the date and if that bird is dead or alive upon finding. You can use the Discord discussions channel for ID help, so please try not to guess on the bird if you don't know what it is. We'll be able to help you, and one of us will be awake at 6 a.m. every morning looking at Discord for those IDs. It is important here to put the bird, just like this photo suggests, kind of on its side where you can see all of that underbelly, underneath the tail, the legs, the beak. This is a really great example of how those birds should be pictured when you post those to Discord. We just want a clear side shot of that bird if you can. We will be posting these photos to the Discord channel Bird Labels. Try to put that bird on the bag with the filled out label in the picture. And then in the morning, you'll coordinate with the person to transfer those birds to the Ohio Wildlife Hospital. Sometimes we may come across birds that are predated downtown. You may come across some bits and pieces like heads and feet and such, but we're really not going to collect those. And if you're unsure whether or not a bird might not be deemable for collection, so if it's really extra soggy or it has a lot of ants covering it, please just post a photo in the discussions and we can let you know whether or not to collect it. For those of you like myself that are a little bit directionally challenged, the side of the building where you find the bird can be a little bit confusing, but we really just want a general side of the building. So The way that I imagine this is I'm looking down on the building from an aerial shot and just imagining, the north, east, west, and south facades of the building. This building in particular in this slide is a good example of how it can get confusing downtown because there are a lot of angles that are facing multiple different directions when you're up close to that building. But really just kind of look at the street and determine what side of that building that you're on. So I like to stand with my back against the side of the building where the bird was found, and whatever direction I am facing is really the direction that we're going to be putting down for that side of the building. I also use a compass app on my phone because I do not inherently know the cardinal directions, so this can be helpful for some of you as well. For those of you that have never handled a live bird before, this technique pictured here is called Bander's grip. You use your pointer finger and middle finger to hold the neck, while the rest of the fingers gently wrap around the bird's shoulders and wings. This grip helps to keep the bird secure and prevents it from escaping. Another reason why it's nice to walk with a partner is because birds can be a little tricky to capture when they're alert, and having two people with nets really increases your chances of capturing the bird. So please do not take any photos of the live birds. They are already very stressed after the collision, so the less time it takes to get them in the bag, the better the chances of survival. So I just want to show you a little trick with the live birds. So in order to get them in the bag, once you have them in that Bander's grip, you can place the bird in the bag, but first I would place one of these little pieces that you have here just in the bottom of the bag to give the bird a little extra grip when they're in there. And then when you go to close the bag, in order to prevent it from collapsing in on itself, just kick out one of these sides over here, and then you can fold it down a couple times. And as you can see, it kind of keeps the bag open so that the bird has a little bit more room in here. And when you're walking around, try not to jostle it around. You don't want to put this in your bag, but just walk as carefully as you possibly can with the bird to try and prevent it from wiggling around and stressing it out too much. So one of the new supplies that we have this year is a bird banding bag. It's really going to be used for the containment of live woodpeckers, woodcocks, thrushes, any of those larger birds that we get, live birds that are really kind of big or they poop a lot and cause a lot of issues, with the bag getting wet and falling through the bottom. So this bag here, when you first get it, actually has two strings that are a little bit loose. You're going to want to make a knot at the end of this for a couple reasons, but once you get your bird with your Bander's grip, you're going to place it into your bag like so. And then you are going to want to cinch the bag shut. And in order to secure it, you're really going to take this string and wrap it around the neck of the bag. And then you can take this knotted part here and you can loop it through the string that you've tied around the neck and pull it tight. So when you're walking around and carrying your bird in the bag, the weight of the bird will actually kind of hold this shut so your bird doesn't escape. Once these bags are taken to the Ohio Wildlife Center, you can leave it with them in the exam room and they will replace with clean bags, and these can be found in the office with all of the other Lights Out supplies. Just a couple of notes about the Ohio Wildlife Center Hospital. These are pretty much the same as the spring of 2024. So the hospital will be open for our Lights Out team starting at 8 a.m. It's not officially open to the public until 9 a.m., but for our Lights Out team, we can come in as early as 8. If you're there a couple minutes before, just be a little patient and wait for those doors to be unlocked. But you can walk right in. You don't need to ring the doorbell or anything like that, and take any of your live and dead birds downstairs. All of those live birds that we get on the route, you're going to finish your route first before you take them in. As much as we want to get them there as quickly as possible, you're going to finish your route before you do so. And just another reminder, please don't take any photos of those live birds. We want to get them as quickly as possible into the bag while reducing any kind of stress, minimizing handling, just so that these birds have a better chance of survival. Also with live bats, if you are rabies vaccinated and you're handling these bats, you don't need to take a picture of them either. If you are not picking up these bats, please take a photo of the location of the bat, and we'll post that to Discord so the rescue team there can get a better idea of where that bat is if they need to come pick it up and rescue it. So again, with bats, if it's alive, leave it unless you're rabies vaccinated and approved to handle. If you are vaccinated, put it in a porta tent. Those bats have a tendency to chew through the paper bags, and sometimes if you find them in a state of torpor, when you transport that paper bag to your car, the bats can warm up, and then you might have a situation in your car. So again, try to put them in something a little bit more stable, like those porta tents that we have available. If you're not vaccinated, please, again, don't touch the bat, but post that photo of the location of the bat so that we can put it on Discord, and our Ohio Wildlife volunteers will come pick those guys up if they need rescued. If they're dead, we're not collecting them. Just take a photo and then collect all the information just like for our birds and put that in the bird labels thread. If you haven't been to the Ohio Wildlife Center Hospital yet, it can be a little confusing the first time that you go in there, but there is a side door on the Billingsley Road location that is labeled Ohio Wildlife Center. So you don't want to go in that front door, that's for the veterinarian location. The side door, you will go in, go to the bottom of the stairs, and then when you get to the bottom of the stairs, you're going to see a desk. So once you see that desk, take a right, and there's going to be a short hallway. At the end of that hallway is a door that is the laundry room. And that's where you're going to take all of the dead birds and place them back there in that large freezer for us. There's usually a basket up in the top that you'll put all of your bird bags in. If you have a live bird, instead of going into the laundry room, take a left down to the exam room at the end of that hallway there, and there should be somebody in there at that time in the morning. Just alert them that you have a live bird, and they'll be happy to take that for you. So sometimes it can take a few minutes. They're in there feeding all of their animals in the morning and taking care of them. So just give it a few minutes for them to be able to finalize their admission process. Okay, so that is all for the Fall 2024 survey protocols. Thank you all again for volunteering this season. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm happy to have you as a part of this Lights Out team. If you have any questions about this training or anything in general, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks again.